inviting me. Thank you for coming. Most of all, I want to thank all of you who participated in the flags that are on the front lawn there. I think there are 3,000 of them. And I am so moved to see the participation of you in remembrance and in contributing to each and every one of the children who were murdered during the Holocaust. I was very touched by it, and I want to thank you first. So, I'm here to tell my story, and I will give you my speech, and afterwards I hope you will ask me questions about things that I will not be covering, because I'm sure not everything can be covered, and I would like to leave you with a feeling that you know what it might have been like, even though nobody can understand it unless you have experienced it totally. And the reason I'm here really is because you are the future. You're the future of remembrance, you're the future of what can happen to our world, basically, with your contributions and with your understanding of how the past influences the present and then becomes the future. So I'm here actually to give you a message of hope. I'm someone who has endured the enormous cruelty of human nature by perpetrators, murderers, as well as the experience of goodness and kindness among those who rescued me. It is a message that allows me to live in gratitude, despite the fact that 40 family members are dead because of the Holocaust, and my life and those of my mother and father were shattered. It's a message that endeavors to make the Holocaust a symbol for knowing and teaching the lessons we should learn from history, not repeat the same mistakes again and again. We need to live our life to the fullest potential to make our world a better place for all. And I hope you will go forth and do just that. You know that you have heard and know my message, now you can take it, because it's your responsibility to carry it to your families, to your friends, and most importantly, into your heart. Yes, when we read the headlines about Sudan, Rwanda, and other genocides, I too wonder about human nature. However, the uniqueness of the Holocaust gives us a special moral lesson that can be a beacon for all. Unlike the horrendous crimes being committed in these genocides, it was only the Jews who were targeted for murder, no matter who they were, no matter in what country they lived or what borders needed to be crossed to kill them. What was unique to the Holocaust and what was happening to Jews was as if a Rwandan would be pursued in London to be marked for death. So I was asked to tell my story, and as an example of this, and I do hope that this will foster understanding. I was born in Lithuania to a privileged family with servants. 1935 Ford, summer homes, chauffeur, and then almost overnight all that was history. We were herded with other Jews into a ghetto, which was actually a concentration camp in Lithuania, because it was also a killing ground. I could at night sometimes hear the shots and the cries that were from the nearby area where the killings occurred. We had a blood-stained room that was well, 4 of us lived in it, and we had 4 beds and 1 table, and that we had to crawl over each other to get to each other there. There was no sanitation. It was the coldest winter on record in Lithuania, 1941. And it was so cold when we drank water from the snow that melted, we had to hurry because it almost froze before it got to our lips. We were hungry. Many of us were sick. Mother became an expert on cooking soups from weeds, and we sometimes got rotten potatoes, and that was pretty good for us. She was a concert pianist before the war, and her fingers became frozen from all this. And we were grateful to have our lives, but we didn't know for how long. So we didn't know because the Germans, Nazis, held us in fear with deceit. They would ask 500 intellectuals to come forward, and people would come forward expecting to get some jobs that would keep them protected, and 700 would show up instead of 500. They would instantaneously be killed while the rest of the ghetto would think that they were safe. The orphanage, nursing home, and hospital that was haphazardly set up became a fireball when it was torched with all the patients, orphans, 200 people, nurses, teachers, everybody was burned to death. They had two ghettos. One was a smaller one was a larger one, and they did not communicate, so they first liquidated the smaller one, which means that 11,000 inhabitants were killed within 6 weeks. The larger one was also liquidated, and the people who were hiding were smoked out at the very end, so nobody was there to tell the story. I'm here to tell the story because my parents had the courage to risk their own lives so that I could be saved. And they survived also. What they did is, the ghetto was surrounded by barbed wire, like you might have seen in some movies. They had guards with dogs that were patrolling the surroundings. And they had also searchlights. So my parents timed all this, for the changing of the guards, the searchlights, the dogs, and dug a hole under the barbed wire, meticulously, little by little. It took them quite some time to do that, of course risking their lives every time they did that. And they risked their lives again when the hole was big enough for a 6-year-old. I was 6 years old at that time. They pushed me through that hole and it worked. So, in a way, I stand before you as a miracle, because something like for that to work is, I don't know what the statistics would be, but it didn't work for many, many others. Because Lithuania has the sad record of being the country that killed 96% of its Jews, which is most of its population. It's one of the saddest records in Europe. That's 10% of its own population within almost a year, mostly. So you're looking at one who's part of 4%. And the miracle is also that my parents survived. So to survive as an intact family in Lithuania with these kind of statistics is truly a miracle. And I live in gratitude every day because of that, and I bless each day that I am here in this day, because you're here to listen to my story and know that this is the truth, because I'm the last generation that is eyewitness to the horrors of the Holocaust. And there's so many people that, and governments that are out there denying that this ever happened. You know, the president of Iran and the elected